If you want to be a husband and a father someday, this is incredibly important to make sure that your family runs well and that you are a king in your household and not a tyrant. You have to learn to encourage and to empower people under you so that they can grow and become virtuous and become the men and women that God has designed them to be. If you're a father and you're always looking at the negative side of things and you're carping and you're demanding and you're focusing all of your attention on the negative side of things, then negativity is what's going to prevail. You have to learn to encourage, to strengthen, to fortify the virtues that your wife and your children have. Good leaders are more encouraging than they are nitpicky. You have to learn how to encourage well. That could be something as simple as intentionally giving 2 compliments a day to each person in your household. Focus on some activity that you want to see increased, you want to see multiplied, and thank them for that and compliment them on how well they did. And let's say they didn't do a perfect job. Let's say that somebody's a 5-year-old and they're wiping down the counters or something like that, and they miss a spot. You don't want to say, oh, you missed a spot. You did a terrible job. Go back and do it again. That's not helpful. What did you just tell the child? Well, the child probably put forth some effort, and they probably did a fairly good job. They're just not capable of doing it perfectly yet. And you just told them that their effort was not good enough and was not appreciated. Now, there are obviously times you have to call out failings. I'm not saying not to do that, but focus on what is good in what the child did. And even if the child didn't give their best effort, if you compliment them on how well they cleaned the table, they're probably going to at least feel guilty for not giving their best effort. And your attention and your focus is towards growing their virtue, growing their self-confidence, and not focusing on their weaknesses. So we have to learn as husbands and as fathers to fortify our family with our words, with our actions, with our emotions, with our intentions, because it's very easy sometimes to be task-driven. I'm so guilty of this myself. I want to do this thing, I have to do this thing, and I have 20 minutes to do it, and I got to go do my... And you just forget that your wife is a real person who loves you and sometimes just needs a hug or needs a nice word of affirmation. And you forget about your children. You're walking from point A to point B, and my 2-year-old comes up and grabs my leg. And my temptation basically is to essentially kick her off and go do my job that I was going to do anyway. But recognizing that your family has needs, and if you want to strengthen them and empower them and fortify them, you have to communicate with them with your words and also with your emotions, with the way that you speak and the way that you smile and the way that you walk around the house. You have to have all of that oriented towards building up your subordinates, building up your wife and your children so that they can grow in virtue and become the people that God has destined them to be. Listen, do this and take nothing else away from this video, and you're going to see your entire life transformed.